What if I told you that criticism doesn't have to crush you? What if instead of feeling defensive or defeated, you could use criticism to build your resilience and become stronger? We've all been there. Someone points out something you've done wrong, and suddenly it feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, but it doesn't have to be that way. Today, I'm going to show you 5 powerful steps to handle criticism without losing your confidence or your peace of mind. Ready to turn criticism into a tool for growth? Let's dive in. Criticism, when handled well, is an incredibly valuable tool for personal growth. However, it often feels like an attack, especially if it's not delivered in the most constructive way. But let's take a step back and understand what criticism really is. It's simply feedback, whether positive or negative. It's a reflection of how others perceive your actions or decisions. The first step in learning to handle criticism is to recognize that it's not about you as a person. It's about something specific you did or didn't do. When we start taking criticism personally, it triggers our insecurities, and that's when our defensiveness kicks in. We start feeling like we need to protect our ego, even if the feedback is meant to be helpful. So the first shift in perspective is this: criticism is not a reflection of who you are, but of what you can do better. By separating your identity from your actions, you take the emotional charge out of criticism. This shift in mindset allows you to process feedback more effectively and avoid internalizing it. This shift may not come naturally, but it is essential for making criticism a tool that works for you, not against you. Once you start seeing criticism for what it really is, feedback for growth, you'll start to embrace it instead of fearing it. The moment someone delivers criticism, it's easy to jump into defense mode. You want to explain, justify, or even argue, but reacting impulsively won't help you in the long run. The first step to handling criticism without falling apart is to simply pause and breathe. Take a moment to collect your thoughts. Breathe deeply. This short pause will help you regain control over your emotions and prevent you from saying something you might regret. It's also an opportunity to separate yourself from the initial emotional reaction and focus on the message being delivered, not the emotional trigger. In moments of criticism, our bodies can go into fight or flight mode, and we might feel defensive or anxious. By practicing a few seconds of mindful breathing, you can short-circuit this automatic response and choose how you want to engage with the feedback. This moment of pause gives you the clarity to respond with thoughtfulness instead of emotion. Consider it a buffer between the stimulus, the criticism, and your response. This brief time helps you prevent the knee-jerk reaction that can sabotage a productive conversation. It also gives your brain time to switch from reacting emotionally to thinking logically. Take a deep breath, focus on the present moment, and proceed from a place of calm and control. Doing so will not only help you deal with criticism in a healthier way, but will also show the other person that you can handle feedback gracefully. The next step in handling criticism is to listen carefully and fully. When someone gives you feedback, it's important to focus on what they're saying rather than on how you feel about it. This means truly hearing them out without interrupting or jumping in with your own defense. Listening attentively shows the person delivering the criticism that you respect their perspective. It also ensures that you get all the details of the feedback rather than making assumptions about what they're trying to say. Sometimes, when we feel criticized, our minds start working overtime to formulate responses before the other person even finishes. This can lead to misunderstandings or missing key points in the feedback. Take a moment to reflect on what the person is saying without jumping to conclusions. Ask yourself, what are they trying to communicate, and what can I learn from this? It's easy to start thinking about how to defend yourself or justify your actions before the person has even finished talking. However, if you're truly listening, you're not thinking about your response at all. You're simply absorbing the feedback, which allows you to fully understand the message and respond thoughtfully afterward. Listening with intention means not just hearing the words, but also paying attention to the tone and body language of the person giving the feedback. Often, how something is said can be just as important as what is said. Once you've listened carefully, it's time to ask questions. If the feedback isn't clear, or if you feel there's more to understand, don't hesitate to ask for clarification. This shows that you're engaged and willing to learn. It also allows you to get specific insights that can help you grow. For example, instead of immediately assuming the feedback is harsh or unfair, you might ask, "Can you provide an example of what I could have done differently?" Or, "What do you think I could improve in this situation?" These kinds of questions are non-confrontational and show a willingness to improve. By seeking clarity, you not only avoid misunderstandings, but you also demonstrate emotional intelligence and maturity in handling difficult situations. Another powerful question to ask is, "How can I make it right?" Or, "What do you suggest I do differently moving forward?" These open-ended questions invite constructive solutions rather than focusing solely on the problem. When you ask these kinds of questions, it shows that you're not only accepting responsibility, but also taking proactive steps toward positive change. It's also important to avoid defensive questions like, "Why did you say that?" or "What do you mean by that?" These kinds of responses shut down conversation and make it harder to find common ground. Instead, frame your questions in a way that invites constructive discussion and encourages mutual respect. Even after pausing and listening, the emotional reaction to criticism can still be strong. You might feel hurt, embarrassed, or frustrated. These emotions are natural, but how you manage them is crucial to responding effectively to criticism. The key here is emotional regulation. Instead of letting anger or self-doubt take over, acknowledge your feelings, but don't let them control your actions. If you feel defensive or upset, it's okay to take a moment to compose yourself before responding. Remember, you can validate your emotions without letting them dictate how you react. A helpful way to manage your emotional response is to practice self-compassion. Criticism doesn't make you a failure, it's an opportunity to grow. Reassure yourself that making mistakes and receiving feedback is part of being human. Everyone has areas for improvement, and handling criticism with grace is a skill that gets better with practice. When criticism stirs up difficult emotions, try to identify where those feelings are coming from. Are you feeling insecure? Are you worried about what others think of you? Identifying the root of your emotional response can help you address it directly and avoid letting it interfere with your ability to handle criticism effectively. The final step in handling criticism without falling apart is to take action. Don't just brush it off or ignore it. Instead, reflect on the feedback and think about how you can apply it to improve in the future. Taking actionable steps shows that you value the feedback and are committed to self-improvement. Whether it's improving a particular skill, changing a behavior, or adopting a new approach, actively working on the criticism you've received is one of the best ways to prevent future misunderstandings or failures. By taking action, you demonstrate growth and resilience. And over time, this will make you more confident in handling criticism, because you'll know that each piece of feedback is just another opportunity for you to become the best version of yourself. Additionally, by learning from criticism, you increase your chances of success moving forward. Mistakes are part of life, but how you react to them makes all the difference. Rather than avoiding criticism, lean into it, learn from it, and use it as a springboard for personal development. Handling criticism isn't easy, but it's an essential skill for personal and professional growth. By following these 5 steps, pausing to breathe, listening fully, asking clarifying questions, managing your emotional response, and taking action, you can transform criticism into a tool for self-improvement rather than a source of stress. Remember, everyone faces criticism. What matters is how you choose to handle it. By embracing criticism with an open mind and a willingness to grow, you'll not only improve in the areas that matter, but you'll also build stronger relationships with those around you. Don't fear criticism, learn from it, and let it propel you toward becoming the best version of yourself.